In the mists of time, deep in the heart of Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud, now known as New Zealand, there lived a princess whose story would echo through the centuries. Her name was Puea Hērangi, a woman born into a world of ancient traditions, yet destined to change the course of her people's future. Puea was born in 1883, a granddaughter of King Tawio, the second Maori king. From a young age, she felt the weight of her lineage. She was a member of the Tainui Iwi, the people of the Great Canoe, one of the many tribes that had crossed vast oceans to reach these shores. Yet, the world around her was changing. The British settlers had arrived, and the shadow of colonization was growing ever darker. In 1863, 2 decades before Puea's birth, her people had faced a devastating blow. The New Zealand government, eager for land, had declared war on the Waikato, the heartland of the Tainui people. Their lands were confiscated, their homes taken, and their dreams of sovereignty crushed. Puea grew up hearing stories of these dark times. She watched as her people struggled with the loss of their land, culture, and spirit. And even as a child, she knew she was meant for something more, to be a voice for her people, a leader for her time. When World War I broke out in 1914, the New Zealand government demanded that the Maori enlist to fight for the British crown. But Puea saw the irony. Why should her people fight for the same empire that had taken so much from them? So, she took a stand. She rallied her people against conscription, famously declaring, "They tell us to fight for the king. We have our own king." Puea's resistance was not without consequence. Many in her tribe supported her, but others, fearful of government retaliation, did not. She was called a troublemaker, a rebel, and faced hostility from both the government and even some of her own people. Yet, she stood firm, guided by a deep sense of justice and love for her iwi. But Puea was not only a leader in defiance, she was also a leader in rebuilding. In 1921, she began to establish a new settlement at Ngaruawahia by the banks of the Waikato River, the ancient home of the Maori kings. It was here that she gathered her people, teaching them to be self-sufficient, to cultivate the land, and to embrace their culture once more. Under Puea's leadership, Ngaruawahia became a beacon of hope. She revived the art of kapa haka, the traditional Maori performing arts, and reintroduced the spiritual practices of her ancestors. She was determined to preserve her people's language, songs, and stories, for she believed that in these, the soul of her people lived. But Puea was not content with just cultural revival. She knew that her people needed to be heard on a national stage. She fought for compensation for the confiscated lands, for the right to education and healthcare, and for the recognition of the Maori King movement in the Kingatanga. Her tireless advocacy began to change perceptions, not only among the Maori but also among the Pakeha, the European settlers. By the time of her passing in 1952, Puea Hērangi had become more than just a princess. She was a symbol of resilience, a bridge between past and future, and a reminder that the spirit of a people cannot be broken by the forces of history. She was the mother of the nation for the Tainui people, a title earned not by birth, but by deeds. Puea's story is not just a story of one woman. It is the story of a people, a story of resistance, of renewal, and of the eternal hope that no matter how dark the night, the dawn will always come. And so, we remember her today, not just as a princess, but as a legend, whose spirit still flows like the great rivers of her homeland.